Hello everyone, welcome to yet another session of the daily news analysis by SRIRAM'S IAS, where we take up the important articles featuring in the Hindu newspaper and break them down for our understanding from the UPSC examination point of view. So with this, let's start our today's discussion by taking the important articles which feature in the New Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper. And with this, let's take up our first article for the day. The first article, which reads the extra constitutional delusions of Raj Bhavan. Now this particular article appears as an editorial article in the newspaper in the backdrop of the ongoing clashes between the Kerala government and the governor of the state. So why the clashes between these two dignitaries are happening, we need to look into that, and the editorial has been written to resolve the dispute or to throw light as to the clarifications between the powers of the governor and the relationship of the governor with the state. So what happened in Kerala? Basically, the powers between the Kerala government and powers of governor are in clash, one can say, wherein the governor sent a letter to the Kerala chief minister asking him to act against the state finance minister. There must be some action that the governor did not find the finance minister did not find the action as good, and therefore the governor wanted the chief minister to remove the finance minister, and he gave the reason that the governor has the power to remove the minister because the ministers hold the position in the government as long as they enjoy the pleasure of the governor. So the governor said that he had ceased to enjoy the governor's pleasure and therefore he should be removed. And to this the chief minister declined this task to do and declined this mandate. That is how the ongoing clash between the Kerala government, especially the CM and the governor, started, where both started asserting their powers, and the governor said that he has the power as taken from Article 164 of the Indian Constitution, that as long as the minister is enjoying the pleasure of the governor, only then the council of the ministers can hold their positions, and the moment they stop holding the pleasure of the government, the governor will be able to remove the minister. This is what he interpreted from Article 164, and that's what became the ground for the conflict. Now this particular article appears in the newspaper, written by a Supreme Court advocate who tries to clarify this issue and takes us deep into what exactly are the powers of the governor. And when we talk about the words of Article 164, how exactly are they to be interpreted? So is the Kerala CM the superior position in the state, or the governor of the state, Kerala in this matter, is the bigger dignitary in this matter? So let's look at first the constitutional provisions related to the governor. When we talk about the governor, who exactly is the governor? So the genesis of this position of the governor dates back to the pre-independent India, where this office has a colonial origin, and the Government of India Act 1858 situated the post of governor under the supervision of the Governor General. So in the pre-independence time, there was the Governor General who took care of everything, and under the Governor General there were supposed to be governors for various provinces, and these governors were essentially placed in those provinces under the command of the Governor General. So the office of governor has its place from the colonial era, and this office was also continued in the post-independent India because of the fact that the makers of the constitution felt that there should be a representative of the center who should be situated in the state, and therefore the office of governor was introduced in the constitution, and the position of governor was placed in the state, where the governor is known as the head of the state, but he is only said to be a titular head or a nominal head, and he is supposed to be the bridge between the state and the center and be a representative of the center as well. So he is also the nominal head of the state and also the representative of the center, and these powers and the provisions with respect to the governor are enumerated from Article 153 to Article 165 of the Constitution. So the appointment and powers of the government can be derived from Part 6 of the Indian Constitution, where Article 153 talks about that there should be a governor for each state. And who appoints the governor for each state? It is the president under whose seal the governor is appointed. So one person can be appointed as governor for 2 or more states also. So, as we talked about, the governor acts in dual capacity as the constitutional head of the state and also as the representative of the center. Then, he is the part of the federal system of Indian polity and acts as a bridge between the union and state governments. This was what the role was highlighted as the for the governor. And under Article 157 and 158 of the Constitution, they specify eligibility requirements for the post of the governor. So, who can be a governor? So, the qualifications of the governor are enumerated in the Constitution, that he or she should be a citizen of India, should be at least 35 years of age, should not be a member of either house of the parliament or house of the state legislature, and should not hold any office of profit. These are the conditions for making a person qualified to become a governor. And after that, when a person becomes the governor, what is the term that a governor has? So it is normally for 5 years, but it can be terminated as well. So the governor is a constitutional position who does not have a fixed tenure, and the tenure of a governor can be changed at the will of the president, and the president essentially acts on the aid and advice of the council of ministers at the central level. So essentially, when the president and the council of ministers want, they can change the governor, and therefore he can be dismissed by the president on the advice of the council of ministers headed by the prime minister. He can also be dismissed without a valid reason, and which is not permitted. And however, it is the duty of the president to dismiss a governor whose acts are upheld by courts as unconstitutional and malified. And the other method is if the governor himself resigns from the position. These are the methods by which the governor is appointed as well as can be removed. Now let's come to the current issue, wherein the conflict is registered in the fact that the Kerala government is saying that this particular provision, which says that the ministers of the state in the cabinet hold the office as long as they enjoy the pleasure of the governor, and the governor has interpreted this provision saying that since whenever he or she thinks that this particular minister has stopped enjoying the pleasure of the governor, he can be removed under the seal of the governor. This is what the governor took a stand as, whereas the Kerala CM has opposed this stand. So in this article, the author of the article has taken certain experts' interpretation as to, at the time of the constitution formation, what were the experts saying and how has the Supreme Court interpreted it. So in the Supreme Court, in the case of Shamsher Singh versus State of Punjab, which took place in 1974, they took help from Ambedkar's words, who at the time of forming of the constitution wrote an introductory statement on November 4, 1948 in the Constituent Assembly to highlight what exactly is the position of governor and what is the interpretation of these words, pleasure of the governor. So he said that the President of the United States is not bound to accept any advice tendered to him by any of his secretaries. That is the case with respect to the United States President, where the President is all powerful and is not bound by the aid and advice of the ministers. But in the case of India, the President of Indian Union will be generally bound by the advice of his ministers, and he can do nothing contrary to their advice, nor can he do anything without their advice. So through this paragraph, the Supreme Court ascertained that actually when we say that the president, or in case the governor, when he or she acts to the aid and advice of the ministers, it is generally the binding advice, which means that that particular governor or president cannot act in any way unless and until he or she is so advised and aided by the Council of Ministers. This is what became clear from Dr. Ambedkar's interpretation. Similarly, the author states another interpretation by the eminent legal jurist and constitutional expert H.M. Sirvai. H.M. Sirvai said that if governors have discretion in all matters under Article 163, it would be unnecessary to confer on governors an express power to act in their discretion in a few specified manners. What he meant to say was, so in Article 164, as we saw, recites the wording which says that the ministers will hold position as long as they enjoy the pleasure of the governor. And similarly, Article 163 contains a clause of discretionary powers to the governor. So H.M. Sirvai says that if all powers of the governor were discretionary to the governor, why would there be a separate provision to enlist the discretionary powers of the governor separately? If all the powers were to have his discretion, they would have been mentioned in a single provision. But since the fact that the discretionary powers are mentioned separately and other provisions are mentioned separately, it goes to show that the words pleasure of the governor actually means that it is based on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers of the state. These were the interpretations which the author collected of the various experts, and has in his article made basically the point that when we say and in this conflict of governor and the state CM, he has actually provided a critical argument to the governor's stand, where the interpretation of holding the office until the pleasure of the governor is actually not discretionary to the governor and essentially is dependent on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers headed by the CM in that state. So this was a discussion with respect to this issue, and with this, let's move on to our next article for the day. The next article which appears in the newspaper reads, Dolphins return to the Ganga in UP. Now this particular article appears in the newspaper talking about the Gangetic dolphin. The Gangetic dolphin is a unique dolphin because this is a river dolphin. And it is so unique to our country that it is also named the national aquatic animal of India. So in this aspect, it becomes important for us to know about the Gangetic river dolphin. It becomes very important from the examination perspective. Many questions have been asked earlier as well. And why it becomes another reason why it becomes important is because due to the modern day challenges with respect to the pollution of the rivers and various other activities which are encroached on the rivers, the population of the Ganges dolphin were very rapidly depleting. And since the past few years, increased steps were being taken by the government to increase their population and to bring back the Gangetic river dolphin into river Ganga again, where a time had occurred where the dolphin was stopped to be seen in the Ganga river due to the high pollution existing in it and due to other threats which we'll take a look at. So from this perspective, we'll take a look at the important aspects of the Gangetic river dolphin. So this particular river dolphin was officially discovered in India in 1801. So it's quite a recent discovery, and the Ganges river dolphin live in the Ganges Brahmaputra Meghna basin. So which means that this is a unique river dolphin which is found in the river systems of Ganga, Brahmaputra and Meghna. So in India, it covers the part of northern India and northeastern India as well, and parts of Bangladesh as well. Then it is found in Karnafuli, Sanggu river systems of Nepal, India and Bangladesh. So this particular river system exists in Nepal. So therefore, apart from India, these other neighboring countries also have the populations of Gangetic river dolphin. And the important thing is that they can only live in fresh water and is essentially blind. This is an important information with respect to the Gangetic river dolphin, that they only live in fresh water. So they're specific river water dolphins and they're essentially blind in nature. So how do they communicate, or how do they travel? They hunt by emitting ultrasonic sounds which bounces off fish and other prey, enabling them to see an image in their mind. So they essentially function with respect to their hunting activities or traveling activities using ultrasonic sounds. This is how they function. Now talking about the population of the river dolphin, the global population of the species is estimated at 4,000 and nearly 80% is found in the Indian subcontinent. This population was the reason why it got attention, because the population of the river dolphin started depleting in rapid numbers in the past few years, and therefore attention was given to increase their population. So why are they significant? It is a reliable indicator of the health of the entire river ecosystem. So the non-presence of Gangetic river dolphin in the river Ganga can tell us about the increased levels of pollution and other malactivities and things that are wrong with the river. So when the dolphin is visible, it would be a very reliable indicator to show the health of the river. And it was also recognized as the national aquatic animal in 2009 by the government of India, as we saw. So this is with respect to the significance of the river dolphin. Now let's talk about what are the threats that the dolphin face and what were the reasons as to why their numbers started to deplete. So the first big threat was the bycatch phenomenon. What does bycatch mean? So this phenomenon happens when the fishermen go for fishing, and since the dolphin are also relying for their prey or for these fishes, so they are also situated in the same proximity. And when the fishermen are collecting other fishes, oftentimes it used to happen that harm the river water dolphins. So due to the phenomenon of bycatching or simultaneous fishing of other fishes and harming the river dolphin became a major threat for depleting of their population. So these dolphins and people both favor areas of river where fish are plentiful and water current is slower. These kind of conditions are both favorable for the fishermen as well as for the dolphin. This has led to the fewer fish for people and more dolphins dying as a result of accidentally being caught in fishing nets, also known as a bycatch. This became a major threat for the dolphins. Second, much obvious one is the increased amount of pollution in the Ganga river and other rivers. Industrial pollution, agricultural pollution and human pollution are serious cause of habitat degradation for the dolphins. Then a major problem came from the construction of dams in the rivers. These construction of dams and other irrigation related projects make them susceptible to inbreeding and more vulnerable to other threats because they cannot move to newer areas. So construction of dams essentially hampers the free movement of the dolphins. What also harms their free movement is the increased amount of fishing activities and vessel traffic. This also became a major reason where in the Ganga river, when we have major ships and vessels traveling through the river, basically they harmed the travel trajectory of these dolphins and they also contributed to the depleting numbers of the Gangetic river dolphins. So these were some of the threats that the dolphins were facing and are also currently facing in certain regions. This is where the news comes in, where it has said that certain steps have been taken and now finally the dolphins are arriving in the Ganga river and are finally visible in the river and parts of UP. So what are the steps that have been taken by the government? First is the Project Dolphin. Now this Project Dolphin was connected with the Namami Gange program, where under the support of the government and under the mandate of cleaning Ganga under this mission, it is also imperative that the dolphin is also restored in this ecosystem. So the Project Dolphin was also launched by the Prime Minister in the year 2020, much on the lines of Project Tiger. And a dolphin sanctuary is also established, known as the Vikramshila Ganges Dolphin Sanctuary, established in Bihar. And the conservation plan for river water dolphin was also launched in 2010 to 2020, which is known as the Conservation Action Plan for the Ganges River Dolphin 2010 to 20, which identified threats to Gangetic dolphins and impact of river traffic, irrigation canals and depletion of prey base on the dolphin population. And now the UP government is saying that due to the sustained efforts on these lines, certain population of the river water dolphins are increasing now. So this was our discussion on this article, and we come to the end of today's discussion with respect to the important articles from the newspaper. We'll meet again tomorrow with the important articles from the newspaper. Thank you.